All right, let's talk about the NFC West. Seattle, listen, I was kind of lukewarm on, Russ. I think they just look average. I mean, Lockett looks good. How do you guys feel about Lockett, DK, Russ, that stack now? Because remember, we talked about that stack. Yeah. How do you feel about the Seattle stack now?
I'm disappointed. I really was hoping that Shane Waldron was going to come in here and talk to Pete Carroll and say, Pete, look, okay, I understand that, like, you want to control games on the ground. Mm-hmm. You want us to score, get a lead, and then just, like, play defense and run the ball. Right. But that's not how today's NFL works, not in 2021. Yeah. And unfortunately, Pete said, look, Shane Waldron, I hired you. Mm-hmm, yeah. You work for me.
Yeah. I'm the captain.
You're going to score.
I'm the captain. Yeah.
I'm the captain. Exactly. When we get a lead, we are going to run the ball. Yeah. But what happens every single time? You watch these games, they get a lead and they lose that lead. Their defense is not as good as he thinks there is. I think he still thinks he's coaching the Legion of Boom, and he scores 10 points and he thinks he can win any game. Mm-hmm. But Russ has always been efficient, and he's been efficient this year, and that's what we've seen with the deep ball. But this offense could be so much more. Yeah. Even guys like Gerald Everett, like. Mm-hmm. The good thing is that their defense is looking suspect. I'm hoping that, like, it continues to look that way. Last year, the defense came around and turned the corner. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that doesn't happen this year. We saw what Minnesota did to them. If that continues to happen, they are going to have no choice but to, like, really just, like, let Russ cook.
They paid all that money to Jamal Adams.
The weapons are there. It's the mindset thing. And, again, it goes back to the situation, like, I want this to happen. It's the definition of insanity. Yeah. Every year I keep telling myself they're gonna let Russ cook. Yeah, new OC comes in, this one's gonna let Russ cook. Doesn't happen.
But if Chris Carson goes down, who are you picking up on the waivers as their backup?
Right now, today,
today? Maybe this week. No one really talking about it.
Everybody knows.
Who are you picking up?
I like Rashad Penny, but he can't stay healthy, man. I don't know what's going on with that guy. But honestly, I don't know the answer to that question, man. It's so many options. It's Alex Collins. It's DJ Dallas. It's most likely Travis Homer. I have no idea. I thought
if you had to pull the trigger, though,
I'm taking Alex Collins
today.
No, I'm not taking Alex Collins. If I had to pull, I'm taking Homer.
Okay.
But the only reason is because out of those options, I feel like.
He's a third down back.
He's going to get passing work, and I feel like in fantasy, and we talked about it in past episodes, that receiving work gives you such a economic code, if you will, for a running back. So the value is so much there. For a running back that doesn't get that receiving work, if you're not scoring touchdowns, then the numbers don't look that good.
I feel like Alex Collins, he can't do it for like more than 4 or 5 games, but for like 2 or 3 games, if he had to come in, he gonna run hard.
Oh yeah, he's a beast.
And he gonna get you 80.
He got that beast mode in him.
May get you like 1 or 2 catches. And
but this last game, I think they only gave him like 3 carries or something like that. They didn't really give him that work.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't really. Yeah. That's not how they use their backs.
The thing. So let's go back to Rashad Penny. I don't know what's going on with him. Mm-hmm. He's been hurt. He's been out for the last 2 weeks. I thought if he was gonna be out this long, they would have put him on IR to give him that 3-week buffer. Mm-hmm. They never put him on IR. So what is going on there?
I don't know. But
he missed week 2. He missed week 3. If he misses this week, then they basically wasted a roster spot on him because they could have filled that with somebody else.
But that tells you, though, they still, people.
It's like they still like him. They keep telling us, he's the guy, but I ain't seen nothing.
Let me not go there.
I ain't seen nothing, man.
Is this a DK regression year?
Nah. This again, perfect example of like whatever happened the first 3 weeks. Okay, don't expect it to happen the next 3 weeks. So Tyler Lockett going off the first 3 weeks. Guess what? You about to see a lot of DK Lockett, and he actually went off last week. Okay, or at least I think put up close to 100 and a touchdown. I expect the next few weeks to really be DK.
I think there is some slight regression, but the only reason I say that because I think DK season last year was so amazing. I mean, he was getting all those bombs and he was scoring all those touchdowns and he was just looking so great constantly. I'm not saying DK is losing anything, but to sustain what he did last year, I don't know if I'm there. Now, I still think he's a great receiver. Lockett. So remember last year to start the season, Lockett looked good as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked great, and then he just kind of faded away at the end of the season. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. If that doesn't happen, then, I mean, unless the Seahawks
offensive design. I think it's the offensive design. I think you're seeing both receivers used in various different ways. I don't expect to see Lockett just disappear for 3 to 4 games.
So yeah, if he doesn't disappear, then DK can't do what he did last year.
DK's route tree has expanded. Like I watched that last game. Like
I agree. I agree. But there was a point last year where DK was just getting everything.
But this is the other thing too, is like we've seen like other receivers kind of come in and like
you talking about on the Seahawks, like Freddie Swain,
and just kind of randomly take these like they scored
that's
so many deep
all over the league too.
Yeah.
Like what's that segment? I don't even know what NFL show does this, but they have a segment like that helps nobody or something like that. Yeah. I feel like that's happening every week with every team.
That's what I was saying earlier.
So
the
like, fantasy zone is what you're talking about.
So and that's what I was saying. So for next year. Like, you have to value teams that have narrow target trees.
Yeah.
You know? Because, like, teams can now say, like, or defenses can now say, okay, look, we're playing the Cowboys this week. We don't want Cooper and CeeDee Lamb beating us deep.
Right.
So now,
next thing you got
in the run
Noah
game,
and Cedric Wilson scoring touchdowns, everything like that. Real quick, I forgot to mention it because I was going to mention it, but Mike Williams is in a contract season. I think that might.
But they didn't renew his contract, which is why that's
what I'm saying. He's in a contract season, so he might be playing for that next contract.
But they would have just signed him.
But they started the season saying that they wanted to get him more involved. I
agree. But he just has a little bit more motivation, really.
But it's one of those things you never know what to like pay attention to. People will say, "See, we should have listened," and then they'll say something like, "This is why you don't pay attention to all-season news." Like, who knows? Like, unless you physically see it in practice, you don't know.
You can make an argument,
and we don't get to see it.
If it's something, anything.
It is what it is. It happened. We all wish we had more Mike Williams.
So let's talk about the Rams for a second. I think that they clearly look like a Super Bowl
MVP.
team.
MVP, man. I haven't heard people talk about it. I'm not saying he's going to be the MVP, but he needs to be in the discussion.
I agree.
All right, I want to talk about Robert Woods because I drafted Robert Woods really high. I mean, like,
my bad. Actually, I didn't say draft him high. I was like, he was my 4th round pick.
I was drafting him high too, man.
I think I was drafting him maybe like 3rd round.
He stayed there.
4th round,
You shouldn't have been doing it. That's on you then.
Yeah.
But he stayed. No, but he stayed. He pretty much stayed in the 4th round. I did see him start to creep up in the 3rd round, but that's DeAndre Swift territory. You can't don't get in my DeAndre Swift territory. But yeah, he's been a disappointment. But it's been mostly like just Cup.
But I don't think it's his fault though.
It's not his fault.
It's like Stafford just sees Cup.
But he's always open. The offensive scheme to him too. I did not see this coming.
Somebody hating on Woods there, man. Somebody sabotaging Robert.
Yeah, there's certain things like this where I'm like, okay, I missed, and I try to go back and think, why did I miss? And I can tell myself a bunch of stories, but probably 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna end up like making the same mistake. And the one things that I can't tell myself is that, okay, like we've seen kind of the ascension of Van Jefferson from a standpoint of at least getting more playing time and running more routes. We've seen the introduction of Deshaun Jackson. It took some time, but we saw that really kind of take off.
Yeah.
And those long bombs, they hurt. Yeah. Because if you don't have that player, that just takes away an entire drive. That takes away a lot of receptions. And Robert works in that intermediate route, and that's Cooper Kupp. If it's between Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods working in the same area, Stafford's going to Cooper Kupp. Yeah. Okay? Especially because he's running out of the slot. And Woods runs out of the slot too, but I mean, it's Kupp. I mean, they have breakfast together.
But they're not even, I know, that's crazy. They're not even giving him like the jet sweeps that they were giving him last year. Yeah. Like they were manufacturing touches for Woods last year that I just haven't seen.
Probably because they felt like they had to. This year, they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
This year, there's much more.
A good point.
No, that's a good point.
That is a very good point. They got Stafford now.
That's a good point, right? Make sure we cut that, clip that out.
That's actually a very good point. I just think, with Robert Woods changing his number to number 2, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
He looks good that number.
Like, you're supposed to shine, man. Like, you got number 2 on your chest. But,
he's an outlier, though. It's okay.
Now, what are we doing with Robert Woods?
I'm benching him.
We're just benching
I'm not benching him this week. This week I'm playing him. But yeah, he's a matchup play for me now. I actually benched him last week.
Like, why are you?
I benched him last week
against Arizona
because Tampa Bay has a week. they have a weak slot corner.
Oh, Tampa.
Yeah, they had a weak slot corner, so I just assumed that like he was going to go off again. But I didn't realize that until last week. Week 1, week 2, I was playing Robert Woods. Okay, week 1, obviously I'm playing him because I was high going into the season. Week 2, I was like, oh, that's just 1 week. It'll regress. Yeah. And then week 2, I was like, nah. Cooper Kupp is the clear number 1, and Tampa Bay has a they don't guard the slot corner very well. They lost their slot corner. Yeah. So this week coming up though,
but they're playing Arizona this week.
This week they're coming up. They're playing Arizona. So who also has a bet? They're not very great against slot corners. But
who is their cornerbacks? I know they don't have Malcolm Butler. Like who's there?
I'm not sure, but that defense didn't look bad. Huh? But that defense didn't look bad.
That defense is ant.
You talking about the Cardinals?
That defense is ant.
Don't
let that
play last week. They played like a week. Yeah, they played the Jags.
They did play the Jags.
Like, come on, and they let DJ Sharp score.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. He's trash.
Come on, man. It's still an NFL
I'm attacking the Cardinals. No. And didn't they let the Vikings just go off? Like the Vikings would have won that game if they made that field goal.
Yeah, but they didn't.
I'm because at some point I'm and again going back, teams get tapes. Teams are not gonna just let Cooper Kupp score 10 for 120 and a touchdown every week.
No, man, what they gonna do about it?
I'm gonna say that, and then we're gonna come back.
I know what they're like.
Okay, this time. Trust me.
I don't know what they can do about it because Cooper Kupp just is wide open.
It depends on what your options are, really. That's what it kind of comes down to. But I'm not, I think I'm gonna probably bite the bullet and start him in leagues where I need to.
Okay, so what about that backfield? Henderson looks like he may be back in a couple of weeks.
They said he's gonna play this week, actually.
Yeah,
they say he might be back this week.
It's Henderson's backfield.
All right, so if he's healthy, he's going to continue to get the lion's share.
But
because he's going to get the passing down work.
Yeah.
But, and I think it goes back to what you were literally just saying about when we were talking about Jacobs.
Yeah.
I do think the Rams are now looking at Henderson like
100%.
We don't know if we can really give him this full workload. Because remember, he was hurt before the season, like before camp. Like he came into camp a little hurt. He got hurt during camp. And then he got hurt during the season.
What were they doing like in the first game against the Bears defensive front? And they basically had him play like 100% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Or like 99%
maybe
of the snaps.
Sony wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Maybe Sony just didn't have the playbook.
Even when they had the game like locked up, it didn't matter if he didn't know. You're taking a handoff.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Or
they gave him maybe 1 or 2 carries, but you're right. They gave him
like that made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, again, it just is proving more and more that Henderson can't really carry the workload as much as
I don't know.
Want.
These injuries are very different. It's not like you
they're all different, but he just keeps getting hurt.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a long season, and we're talking about a team with Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, but obviously, if he's active, you're starting him.
Oh yeah.
And
Henderson is definitely the guy. Henderson is definitely the guy. Yeah.
All right, so let's also talk about
Higbee. Start Higbee.
Higbee looks good. Yeah,
he's gonna be tough to figure out week to week. They schemed him. There was some obvious plays that were specifically developed for Higbee. That screen on the touchdown.
Yeah. And for my dynasty people, man, because of how good Higbee looks, don't forget Jacob Harris.
You and Jacob Harris.
Because if he's going to be in that offense, I'm not saying this is not for season long.
Right.
But if he's going to be in that offense and they're scheming the tight end like that, then if Jacob Harris kind of gets up to speed, he might have a major value boost. So
tight ends against Tampa.
Yeah. And let's talk about the real MVP. Who's going to be the real MVP? Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. In that
division. You're talking about Tampa, but go ahead.
No. Kyler Murray. Listen, it's hard. Kyler Murray, he looks like QB1 right now. I don't see him not being QB1 with the way that offense is playing.
We don't even want to take a victory lap on this one. Because this was like one of the, I don't want to say obvious, but it was just one of those offenses where, you had a quarterback who was just obviously Konami code.
Yeah.
And we knew, he was struggling in the passing game. And all it took was for him to just kind of, make that next step. Mm-hmm. And now he can run and pass. And, we just added A.J. Green. And people wanted to hate on A.J. Green.
Rondale Moore.
And we added Ron
and Christian Kirk is finally, starting to do a thing.
Now, that's going to take me to my next question, though. Who's the receiver to own after D-Hop? Is it AJ Green or Christian Kirk? Because I don't think Rondale Moore should be in the discussion.
I think you should own them. All of them. Kind of like what I was saying with the Chargers.
But you can't own all of them.
You pick
Get
one.
one of them.
Whoever's available. You see AJ Green on the waiver? Pick him up.
Yeah, I want to go home. God,
Rondale Moore should not be on the waiver.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk should not be on the waiver.
Yeah.
It's going to be a week-to-week proposition. You're not starting these guys as wide receiver twos. You're not starting them as like your strong flex positions. But like if you're in like deep bench leagues, you're in leagues where you start two flexes like the FFPC, these are great guys to own. And if you can like, it's going to take some time. It'll depend on like the, who's, the defense that they're going against. But we know Moore and Christian Kirk, seeing some good amount of time in the slot now that there's no more Fitzgerald there. A.J. Green and D-Hop are on the outside. So we knew D-Hop was banged up last week, okay? I know some people started around there more. I didn't necessarily go.
I did, man.
Yeah. I started him the week before. I got lucky. I got lucky. But, it's going to be one of those things that's kind of like, it's going to be tough, but, when they go off, they go off.
Yeah.
One thing, and you just mentioned, I literally just totally forgot. What happened to Larry Fitzgerald? Did he retire?
I don't think he's technically retired.
So he just like, I'm still deciding. He's still at home like, I'll let y'all know.
If somebody gets hurt, he can just easily like sign.
Yeah.
And what better thing for veterans just to like sit out, chill. Oh, you making the playoffs? Oh, you need somebody?
Yeah. Right.
I'm there. Let me get that ring with y'all.
Kyler is your quarterback? Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers closely and I haven't done any comparison, but I think D-Hop's value has slightly become depressed with all these other options that are there.
Another guy, you look back and you're like, I like D-Hop this year. I like D-Hop. And then you look at your shares and you're like, I don't really have a lot of D-Hop. But it's because of the addition of these other guys.
Now, I'm not saying bench him or anything like that or anything, but it's just what we expected from D-Hop. Because I remember last year, and, as a Texas fan, I used to think, I'm conspiracy theorist. I used to think the Cardinals would just give him like 50 targets a game just to spite the Texans. Like, look what y'all let go of. I mean, he was getting like 20 targets, but this season he's not getting that amount of targets. He still looks good when he gets his targets and his catches.
Because you have other guys now that not only command targets, but you have a quarterback who's now advanced. So now he's passing to the open
he's
guy.
To see the field better.
He's hitting the guys that are like, okay, this play is designed to like get this guy down the seam. Yeah. He's seeing those and he's hitting those. Yeah. So he's not as reliant on DeAndre Hopkins. Again, going back to that idea, okay, when we're looking ahead in 2022, and I'm always thinking about this, okay, what's next year going to look like? Taking just mental notes. Narrow target trees. Like that's going to be my theme of like 2022. Okay, who has a narrow target tree? Okay, and that's where I want to go because I feel like it's going to give me consistent production week in and week out.
Let's talk about, before we move from Arizona, Chase Edmonds, Connor. I have no idea who to start from week to week. I like Chase. I've been starting him week to week because I like his third down to work.
Start Chase.
Just start Chase.
Yeah, start Chase.
But I started Connor last week because
getting some goal line work.
No, not because I was like, oh, this is a week for Connor. Because I was like literally dying from running back injuries. And this goes back to our point earlier. Just have these guys on your roster with the idea that like in the right situation, because it was between him, I think it's Peyton Barber, and like someone else. And I was like, okay,
who scored who scored more points, Barber or Connor last week?
It was probably close. I think it was probably Barber because he had a couple
Peyton
catches.
Barber had like 23 something.
Yeah. Connor had like 18 or something?
Something like he scored two touchdowns and like probably not much through the air, and very little on the ground. But the idea was just like, okay, there's going to be like positive game script situations. They should be, up, and they weren't up that much for at least early on. But they should be up, and he should be like running the clock out and then just hope for like a goal line carry against a weak defensive front. Yeah. So, you kind of save him for that, but like we've seen now what this offense looks like. Yeah. He's going to get the goal line carry, so he's like a guy that like, okay, I'm in a pinch. Like if I'm looking through my roster, who is the likelihood of scoring a touchdown today? That's he. But otherwise, like you said, it's Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, go Chase.
He's getting a lot of run and a lot of look in the passing game too. So,
all right, I want to talk about another receiving core that is kind of hard to decipher. Well, it hasn't been hard as of late, but I think it's going to be hard going forward. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, Debo has just been going off, getting tons of targets. Ayuk, to me, is still someone to own and start. How do you guys feel about Brandon Ayuk and that offense?
Man, this whole San Francisco 49ers team, like, man, I like want to curse somebody out.
Yeah.
I don't know who to direct my anger towards.
Yeah.
Do I direct it towards the coach? Do I direct it towards the beat writers? I was listening to some random fantasy analysts tell me that like, oh yeah, I remember, I was having lunch with someone and they told me that Debo was the guy. Like, really? And I can't be upset because I probably would have kept that to myself too. But either way, like again, goes back to another one of those situations. Like, how did I miss out so bad on this? And I can tell myself stories, but I'd probably make the same like mistake 9 times out of 10, to be quite honest.
So, it's crazy. I still don't think we know what that 49er offense is supposed to look like right now.
100% agreed.
I still don't know if I'm for sure saying Debo is the guy to own there.
Agreed.
And that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Because I don't know if it's due to injury with Ayuk or, punishment or whatever. I don't know if it's due to quarterback play or just the offensive whole hasn't looked good. I don't know if it's the fact that the running game hasn't been what they wanted because of injuries. I don't know what's going on with the 49ers. Like everything I thought just hasn't played out exactly the way I wanted to play out. Now, this last game, Ayuk looked good.
Yeah.
Ayuk looked like a guy that can be the guy.
Yeah.
And if he's out of the doghouse and if he's healthy, I think I'm still leaning Ayuk. Debo, to me, still they manufacture touches for him. He gets these like reverses and stuff like that. But he's not really going downfield and getting a lot of plays. And I think they said they were trying to work that into his skill set this season, but I haven't really seen it.
He had that. Yeah, he caught that one long pass, but it's not like he like just beat the defender. Like it was like an underthrown ball.
He got the pass.
He made a good
adjustment.
Yeah. But I like what you said about manufacturing touches and going back to like again whether it was like injuries or he was in the doghouse. Because one thing that Shanahan can do is he can like scheme an offense, especially against bad defenses. Yeah. Okay, that first game against Detroit, like what better defense is like, okay, whatever I draw up, that first read's always going to be there. Yeah. And we're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers, but I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is just one of those system quarterbacks where like he's going to the first read. And if the first read is not there, that's why he looks so bad at times is when that first read is taken away from him. Yeah. And so against bad defenses or whenever that first read like is just open, like he's gonna look good. He's gonna hit that guy. And so with Ayuk being in the doghouse or being injured, like Shanahan was like, okay, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Like Debo, this is your time to shine. Yeah, exactly. This play is gonna be for you. And that's what we saw every single play. It wasn't like Garoppolo, I don't think Garoppolo like just had eyes for Debo. It's that Debo was the first read in the option. You can tell that he was schemed in that option. And going back again, I keep saying it. Look at the offense in 3 to 4 week increments. Things are gonna change. We have not seen a huge Kittle week. That's gonna happen. We're gonna see a huge Ayuk week because Shanahan's gonna look and see, okay, defenses are now scheming, looking at Debo. Because you saw there were a lot of They tried to manufacture touches for Debo behind the line, rushes, sweeps, etc., reverses, and we saw defenses ready. Yeah, Shanahan's going to go back. He's going to look at the film. Okay, teams are ready for this.
They were
now,
on the
how do I
hashtag.
adjust?
They stay ready.
Yeah.
So as far as the receivers, I would recommend still playing both of them, Debo and Ayuk. I don't think you have to pick. I mean, most people don't have both on their teams, so whichever one you have, just play them. But the two concerns I have, and everybody have, I know you have, is them running backs, Trey freaking Sermon. Like, what the hell is going on with him? And then we have to. Now, me, as far as Trey Lance, I kind of initially was expecting it to be the long game. But I was kind of starting to eventually have hope that he would eventually get those reps, close to the beginning of the season. Now it's getting to the point where it's like, I know I expected this, but I'm getting antsy. It's like, okay, I know I didn't expect him to play to the end of the season, but now he's like dead weight on my team. He's like a big anchor. So, I mean, I'm going to keep him, but golly, like, come on, like, make a move. But forget that. Back to Sermon. What the hell is going on there? Because you have a third-round running back. Was he a healthy scratch week 1?
He was a healthy scratch week 1.
What? And then the 6th round pick is the guy that's getting the looks. And then, now we didn't see them play much prior to the season, but now that we've seen both of them play, Mitchell looks like the better back. Just the eye test. Sherman doesn't look ready at all.
And I think a lot of it too. And I mean, we talked about it. Like I was super high on Trey Sermon. Yeah. Just in terms of just like the eye test and just like watching him run. And I think what I've gathered or what I figured or what I've kind of come to terms with is right now he's not ready for this system, like you said. Mm-hmm. He's not running the way that he should in the system, and he's not quick enough to like account for his deficiencies in the system.
He doesn't have that.
Certain players
juice.
exactly. They may not be as good as Trey Sermon, but because they are quick through the hole, or maybe vision wise, they can hit that cutback, or they can really find the hole in that stretch zone. Like, they just look better in that system, and that's what you need. We talked about we always bring up I bring up Philip Lindsay, and I'm like, okay, Philip Lindsay could be a good back in the right system, but I don't think the Texans offensive line and system are a good system. But behind that San Francisco system, that's the type of back that you need. So I can't say his name. I keep I don't care if he's dead weight. I don't care if I have to wait till week 10, 11. I have a ton of Jeff Wilson. And I will wait, and I will wait. Yeah. Barring any random trades, I will wait, and all I can see right now is Jeff Wilson coming in and taking over this backfield. This is a playoff team. They're gonna want a veteran back there.
What's the record right now?
2-1.
2-1. All right, guys. Let's move to the AFC South.
How many more teams you got? All right, never mind. Just keep going.
A lot.
Okay, we gotta hurry up.
Let's move to the AFC South. Let's start with our hometown team, Texans. Hey, the Texans are only 1-2, but they're not nearly as bad as everyone said that they
told you, or Dale told you.
Listen, I'm not sure if Brandon Cooks is still receiver one, but for a little while he was receiver
Abby
one.
told you about Brandon Cooks.
Talked about Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
I cut the clip. I should put it in right here. I don't know if I will or not.
Let's not do that.
But is there any other fantasy player to own other than Brandon Cooks on that offense?
No.
Maybe Tyrod when he comes back.
No, but they've been decimated by injuries so much that it's like there's nobody you can even trust. You know, I mean, if we're not talking about fantasy, they're just holding their own. They're playing with respect. They're playing with heart and everything like that. But as far as fantasy value, it's great for Brandon Cooks because it's like that narrow tree that you're talking about. They're literally going him all the time, and he's producing. He is the number one receiver as far as yard and air yards or whatever stat I saw recently.
Against the right matchup, you may want to look at Anthony Miller. Okay, I do think he can potentially have some value.
Well, he just came back for the first time last week, so he's gonna eventually ramp up, and he got that slot role.
And that's mainly why I like him. I do think I'm not holding him in all leagues. I am holding out hope for David Johnson. I just think he gives them the best chance behind that backfield. I think when you bring in a guy like Mark Ingram, he's deceivingly quick in terms of when you watch him, you're like, okay, he looks like he got juice and literally goes nowhere.
He has a quick burst.
Yeah, he has a quick burst and then goes nowhere. Okay, so he is not it. Yeah. Philip Lindsay is not the back for this offensive line. So I think David Johnson is a back that offers 3-down capability. But the problem is it doesn't matter what I think or what I want. Right now, he's only getting the 3-down work. Okay, so
third down work.
Third down work.
The way I see the Texans backfield, and I was high on Lindsay because, and I'll be honest with you, the reason why I was high on Lindsay because I was comparing or I was looking at who would be the winner between Lindsay and David Johnson. I literally was looking at those two options, and for what I was gathering from my insider information, I knew they were trying to use
insider information. and listen, he won't even tell us who it is. Right. He'll randomly say something and be like, "How do you know that?" Can't tell you.
I knew they were looking at David Johnson as a third down player. So obviously to me it was like, okay, Lindsay was going to be the guy. I think we collectively just ignored Mark Ingram and what he can do for this offense.
I definitely did. I was like, forget about him. He's not going to make the team.
But Mark Ingram, but Mark Ingram has just proven us wrong because he's actually been the one out of all three of them that's
because of coaching tie. That's all it is.
Yeah, and maybe we didn't put value on that the way we should have. Yeah. The only reason why I'm still holding on to one of them, and for me it's Lindsay, but it could be any of them. At some point, I think an injury might occur. Now, I don't wish injuries on anybody. It's a long season, though. Or maybe a trade can occur. The Texans are a team that they're open to getting rid of anybody if the right deal presents itself. It's a rebuild, but it's like a competitive rebuild. It's like they're fighting, but they also know they have to kind of game plan for the future. If a team is in need of a running back and they feel like they can make a deal with Caserio, I think Caserio will pull that trigger. I was thinking the Ravens might be the team with Mark Ingram having that type of relationship with the Ravens. That didn't happen, but injuries are going to keep occurring. So if one of them is moved or hurt, that is going to increase the value of two of them by a lot, in my opinion.
And their defense, just real quick, again, 2 deep zone. They played at Tampa 2. Lovie Smith is always there. So just know that. Like, that's why DJ Moore killed. DJ Moore didn't kill because DJ Moore is this amazing player. He's good. I'm not taking anything away from DJ Moore. But if you literally watch the game, he was wide open. And Sam Darnold's first read was DJ Moore. And if his first read is always open, he's obviously going to throw it there. That's the type of quarterback that he is. Yeah. So just know that, like, moving forward for other players that, obviously, people
now Terrence Mitchell is a starting cornerback. He missed that game, so we'll see how he looks when he comes back because he had a concussion.
Their run defense is not terrible though, so don't just think you're just going to get
and I'm not, man. Everybody
guys,
that
we
follows
can't
me
talk
on
this
Twitter.
long on a text.
No, we're not going to talk long at all. We're about to go up. But everybody that follows me on Twitter, everybody that knows me, knows I've been a Texans advocate. They're not the worst team in the NFL, like everybody was trying to make it out to be.
Yeah, that belongs
and
to
they're just proving that now. I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying, they're going to be a playoff team, but that narrative was just too crazy to me, man. I mean, the worst team in NFL history.
You're right. But the worst team is the Jags, so let's move on to the Jags.
Yeah. Jets?
Oh, yeah, the Jags are me worse.
Jets way worse.
Yeah, what you talking about?
Jets way worse.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Jags for a second. James Robinson. Are you guys still rostering?
Oh, yeah,
James
absolutely. He especially after last game, because they're going to be behind in a lot of games. So what you saw last game was them realizing, okay, he should probably be the hurry up back. He should probably be the the third down back. He should probably be in there in 2 minutes, et cetera. So he has, because they're going to be in so much garbage time situations, he is definitely has a lot of value, and I will be starting him this week.
So
quickly,
me, I was never on James Robinson.
Right,
y'all remember that. And part of the reason why I wasn't on James Robinson because I did feel like the Bengals, and we had this discussion on the pod whether they're going to be a running team or a passing team.
And we got to be clear. None of us were on James Robinson when with the ETN injury.
Yeah.
This is so third round, fourth round, none of us were. Yeah.
But part of the reason why I had a stance that they were going to be a passing team was not so much as far as what they wanted to do, but what they were going to have to do by necessity. I felt like they were going to struggle all season long, and they were going to have to keep passing the ball. And I feel like that's to some extent played out a little bit. Trevor Lawrence is passing like 30, 40 pass attempts a game.
Yeah.
Who's the receiver to own on that team, though?
Marvin Jones. I kept telling y'all this.
It might be Marvin Jones. He might be the possession guy, but Shark is the one that's getting the touchdowns.
Yeah, he's getting along. Yeah.
Chanat's getting these low A-dot, and he got hurt also week 2.
Yeah.
But week 1 and week 3 he's getting these short A-dots, so he's not really doing much with them. But their offense as a whole is just struggling. Lawrence is struggling.
I am holding Trevor. Only because he still has that rushing capability. I'm holding Trevor. I'm not letting him go just
But that whole team is struggling, man, and I don't know. I don't
Man, next.
I don't know.
I
don't want to talk about the Jazz, man. Like, why'd you do
that? Speaking of struggling, who's the running back to own with the Colts? Listen, man.
Come on,
man. Stop being disrespectful.
Naheem looks good, man. Like, do we think that Jonathan Taylor is gonna be the guy mid to late season?
Yes, he's the guy that you want to own. But this is why you didn't draft Jonathan Taylor in the first round. I had that little brief moment of lapse where I had a little.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
I was drafting and I was like, Jonathan Taylor just fell to me in the second round, and I was trying to tell myself a story and a narrative. Okay, number one, I was like, you never see him fall that low, and I felt like I just was compelled to take him.
Yeah.
And I took him. Suffice to say, I'm not that happy with it.
Right.
Okay.
No, wait.
I still think he's the back to all.
I don't want to ignore the fact that Jonathan Taylor has looked good, but he's just not scoring these touchdowns.
Yep.
He's got, I think he's leading the NFL in red zone carries.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's just that he can't punch it in.
I need to see more targets, though.
But again, when we had the Jonathan Taylor discussion in a past episode, that was a concern I had.
Yeah, we knew that.
Because remember, I was like, Hines looked so good last year.
Yeah.
They might use this offseason to try to maybe decide to use him more often. And that might be playing out. But regardless of that, if Jonathan Taylor was getting the touchdowns with the opportunities he's getting, his numbers would look so much better. We wouldn't be having this type of conversation right now.
You know the real issue? Mm-hmm. Okay, and this kind of goes to that whole Chubb discussion, is you were drafting Jonathan Taylor based off of him being super efficient behind a very good O-line. Right. You had a very good back behind a very good O-line. And that O-line has been injured.
I think we buried the lead on that,
So that's been the major issue. That O-line was just really good, and the defense is at least better than what we thought they were going to be.
And Wentz being broken and
exactly.
Like
then things would be a little bit. So again, first quarter, but don't be surprised to see Jonathan Taylor just smash the next 3 or 4 games.
What about the receivers on the Colts? Like, what's going on there?
Stop disrespecting Zach Pascal.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's available in a lot of leagues
He
too.
is.
And Pittman is the guy to own. Pittman is the guy to own. He's getting a lot of targets. With that,
I don't know what's going on with Paris Campbell, man. I'm so disappointed in that. He's just like, he shouldn't even be dropped. You should have dropped him after week 1. And T.Y. Hilton, what we doing with him?
I'm not doing anything with.
Like, are you gonna eventually pick him up? Because I know you're not rostering him.
No.
So we put him out.
He's done.
Put
took him his back. Yeah,
put him out the pasture.
Put out the pasture. Yeah.
Speaking of putting out the pasture, and I know that you guys are gonna hate me for saying this because I think Julio needs to be put out the pasture.
Man, come on.
Listen,
man.
let's talk
You guys, you know how I feel about Julio.
Listen, man.
Julio, but I'm not there though.
I called him. Listen, he's AJ Green with better PR. Let's talk about what in the hell is going on with Tennessee. He is, man.
He was saving that one.
I was saving it. I was.
Nice line. That's nice. I like it.
I think I put it in the group chat.
Yeah,
like,
I think you did too. That was nice.
No.
No, I was down on Julio, but I'm a little higher on Julio now. So I'm not there where you are right now. And I think okay.
Game 1, ignore.
Yeah.
Okay, game 1, ignore. They had kind of a COVID-ridden offseason.
Week 2, he looked good, though.
Week 2, he looked good.
He had a touchdown they took away.
Week 3, he had a little hamstring injury. You want to call him old for that? Then what are you going to call A.J. Brown?
Did he have a hamstring? I thought it was a knee.
Yeah,
A.J. had the hamstring.
Listen,
A.J. had a hamstring.
we need to talk about
Or
A.J.
did he
Brown,
also
too.
they both had a hamstring?
Yeah, both had a hamstring. But
Okay.
Julio just kind of tweaked this a little bit, so we'll see.
Okay.
But you cannot call Julio old for having a hamstring. And then we've had literally how many players, especially wide receivers, have just gone out with hamstrings?
Yeah.
A lot of
Okay,
them.
so let's not go there. We'll see
That's
which
what I'm
one plays
saying.
next.
Like these, first of all, I don't believe in victory laps in fantasy at all. So people that be doing that, that's weird to me. But
I mean, I'll take a victory lap.
yeah, he's weird to me. But anyway, like, don't take victory laps on injuries because you can't predict injuries. I don't care,
Chris.
what prior has happened in the past or anything. You don't know when a person is going to get hurt, and if a person didn't get hurt, you don't know what kind of production they could have put up.
Prime example of that when we get to this team, Rob Gronkowski. Because if we weren't concerned about injuries, he would have been going a lot higher.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
right.
I mean,
next team.
We don't know what.
Well, let's move to the NFC South. Let's go ahead and talk about Tampa. Gronk. Listen, we were not valuing Gronk as high as he should.
We picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were both so cheap.
Yeah. So let's talk about Tampa for a second. Listen, Mike Evans. I think I'm still starting Mike Evans every single week.
I am too.
Yes.
Yes. I mean,
I am too. I'm starting all of them actually.
People have this discussion with Mike Evans every single year. Like, oh man, why did I draft? Bruh, Mike Evans is. I don't even want to say he's boom bust. I think he's less than boom bust this year with someone like Brady. But Mike Evans is a big play type threat. He's a red zone threat. You don't sit Mike Evans, okay?
And
don't draft him.
And let's put things in context.
He's
Week
been
1,
good.
He was dealing with the guy that we brought up a couple times already in this pod, Diggs. He was dealing with this super shutdown cornerback that we've all just not paid attention to leading up to this season,
and we should be
showing
thankful
out
because we realized watching that game how good Diggs was,
right?
And that allowed us to adjust for the game 2, game 3, and moving forward.
But now Evans week 2, he did great.
Yeah.
And week 3, we were like, he's going against Jalen Ramsey. We don't know. And he still produced. So I wouldn't be worried about Evans. I wouldn't be worried about Godwin.
You just start these guys.
AB had a bad week too. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But AB is still AB. And I think Brady likes AB a lot.
He does. Yeah.
He might be probably his favorite.
All these guys are
going
to eat. Look, so Mike Evans didn't have a good game week 1. We all knew Brady was like, bruh, I got you next game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Brady is the type of, he is so good. Look, he's the GOAT of GOATs. Whatever you like,
He's
you
the
need to get over that.
He's
He's the GOAT
GOAT.
of all GOATs. I don't even like, I don't like Patriots, but he's the GOAT of all GOATs.
No, he's not.
He's so good that he can say, okay, you know what? You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown.
He really does.
You get a touchdown.
Really does.
Oh, wait, my bad. Did I miss you? You get a touchdown.
Yeah, he really does.
He's that good, okay? So if a player does not go off the week prior, you can probably best believe he's going to go off.
By the way,
week.
going back to Mike Evans, that week 1 dud, it didn't really even matter for FFPC players because you didn't have to play him.
Yeah.
You know? We were able to get that first look thing where if the player didn't do good,
and you get so excited when a player like that does not do well his first week, and then he has like a much better matchup the following week, you're just like, oh man, I just can't wait to start this player.
Yeah, that squeaky wheel thing.
Yeah.
Well, what about Rojo and Leonard Fournette? I mean, are you guys just staying away from that backfield?
Yes.
For now.
Yeah.
But Gio may be hurt. We got to see how serious his injury is. If Gio's seriously
It's
hurt.
an MCI, I think.
Ooh.
Okay. MCI, so I think it's going to be a week or two.
Oh, just a week? Okay, so.
Okay, that's
all
not
right.
bad.
Because ideally, if you can figure out, when they're going to be in really positive game script situations, then maybe you see a little bit of running. The problem is, and we talked about this, is Brady is on this whole nother level where he's really trying.
He's doing his 2020 Josh Allen thing, man.
Yeah, and his 2020 Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but the Packers ran the ball with Aaron Jones last year too.
Yeah, no. Brady's look,
the Bucs I got this.
Brady said, I'm setting all the records.
Yeah.
I'm going to put myself so far ahead so that there is no discussion who the greatest player in sports is.
Yeah.
That is all. You see him at the goal line.
Yeah.
He's 42. This dude's running quarterback sneaks at the goal line.
Yep.
He's passing at the goal line.
You know what's funny? I mean, I'm going on a little tangent, but I think I saw over-under there as far as his rushing yards for this upcoming week is at 0.5. That's his over-under. They're basically saying, is he going to get a yard?
He led the team in rushing.
No, he didn't.
Against the Rams. Yes, he did.
Yeah. He led them in rushing?
He led them in rushing. So, yeah, the answer is don't start anybody.
Don't play any Bucs running backs. I didn't know that.
Let's move on to the only other team that I think that can challenge them for that division, Carolina.
We haven't talked about this.
Did you say Carolina can challenge them?
They can challenge.
They're the biggest frauds. If you don't get out of here with this Carolina
they can
nonsense.
challenge them.
This whole Sam Darnold, look, I'm going to tell y'all right now. He about to turn into a pumpkin.
Oh,
okay? Like, I'm telling you right now, watch the games. Watch him go through his progression or the lack thereof. Okay? He's played, they put him in some really good situations right now, but I'm telling you, he's going to come up against them. And again, his schedule coming up is kind of nice. But he's going to get to a point where teams are going to realize what they're doing. They're going to take away that first read, and he's going to start to struggle. I really see that coming down the road.
The verdict's still out for me.
Yeah.
Verdict's still. I mean, I like Darnold for that system. The verdict's still out. I don't know. I don't know if they can challenge the Bucs. I think the Bucs is going to go all the way again. Yeah. I mean, I know they just lost to the Rams, but the Bucs also lost to the Packers last year during the season. You saw what they did to them in the playoffs.
Biggest question: what are you doing with Robbie Anderson? We talked about it.
That's the biggest question on that offense.
I'm keeping him. We were talking in our group chat about possibly this being a squeaky wheel week for him, where he might produce this week against the Cowboys, especially with us thinking Diggs is going to be on DJ Moore. Mm-hmm. So I might play him.
I'm starting him.
But
I'm starting him.
But there's concern there for me.
Yeah. And I didn't play, and I was not an Anderson guy. And so most of my teams that I had him the first week, I didn't even play him the first week. I definitely didn't play him the second week. Third week against the Texans, I felt like they were just going to be in.
I played them against the Texans.
Yeah, I just didn't want to play them because I felt like they were going to be playing that 2 deep zone.
Yeah,
because we talked about like how the shift. We had those 2 games before where he was running more deeper routes.
Yeah.
And DJ Moore was running those more intermediate routes. So I felt like that 2 deep zone. That's what they're trying to prevent. But now against the Dallas defense, with CMC out, with DJ Moore putting what he's put on tape right now.
Yeah.
With potential Diggs shadow on the way, and we don't know this for sure, but we just assuming. We'll see what happens. I really think Robbie is going to have a very, very good game this week.
What type of waiver bid? If you had $1,000, all your money, how much would you bid on Chuba?
It depends.
I mean, I know waivers is probably run already, but
yeah. So I had. He was basically he's not really available in most leagues, but he was available. So I had him in a home league. Knowing that I may only get 1 to 2 weeks of him, I bid about 56% of it's $100. I bid $56 to get him because I just wanted to.
Those couple weeks.
Yeah, because now we're 2 years in where we've seen CMC get hurt, and people can say they can, he's brittle. That's a bunch of BS to be quite honest. I mean, that's just bullshit. But
it's another hamstring.
Yeah, but exactly. But that's the issue. Is the hamstring.
Yeah.
Given how much work he gets, I was like, let me just make sure I just have the handcuff because I don't want to go through the season. Yeah, I had CMC in this league, and then I seen him in one FFPC league where I don't have CMC, where he was available on the waivers, and I just put in like a modest, 25. Maybe 30% bid at max. Okay, just to kind of price enforce. I don't want anybody getting any free lunches out here.
Right. So let's talk about Atlanta. Pitts was third, sometimes fourth, tight end coming off the board. How do you guys like Pitts in that offense? And is that offense kind of underwhelming considering what we thought that they were going to be?
Yeah, I thought Arthur
Smith
was going to come with a little bit more than what he's come with.
Yeah, he's not showing out.
The problem with Pitts, and a lot of people are pointing this out, and I didn't pick it up until like it was pointed out. So credit to the number of people who like picked up on this. They're splitting him out wide, and he's being guarded by like legit cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. So you imagine you're a tight end coming into the league. You got to learn the tight end position. You got to learn all these different things, and now you got to split out wide and go up against like a defensive cornerback. Mm-hmm. Like that's not the easiest thing, even for like an average cornerback.
It takes away the advantage. If
exactly.
That's the case.
So like they got to figure out ways, and like Travis Kelce runs in the slot. Like that's where he like does his damage. Like he run him in the slot. So like you can't like just move him around a little bit. And I anticipate they'll do that. They'll figure out ways to get him involved. They have to because their offense is terrible. You can't have your backup running back like leading your team in like and receiving yards and receptions. That's what happened last year with Washington. Mm-hmm. Like that offense was bad because J.D. McKissick was getting so many receptions. That is never a good thing. If you see that in the offense, you have to realize that OC next year or at some point is going to say, okay, look, we can't keep doing this. This is not efficient. Yeah. This is like a last resort type measure. Yeah. So.
Yeah, like what about Ridley? Is Ridley, Dio, like is he a receiver one? Is he an alpha?
He's an alpha, but just not performing like an alpha. Like he's still the main guy there. They have nobody else. Think about it. They have nobody else. And really, I think the overall thing with the Falcons is the whole offense is depressed in general. Like the whole offense. Nobody
is Matt Ryan done?
Ooh,
he might be.
Yeah, I need to watch them closely. I had them on the docket today. I didn't get to it.
Yeah, he might be done.
I'm gonna have to watch them closely.
He might be done. Like I think I saw a stat where his pass, the distance of his passes are a lot less, like maybe even half of what it was last year. Mm-hmm. Now I'll be remiss if I don't mention Cordero Patterson. Yeah. I picked him up in my waivers like before week 1, and the only reason I picked him up is because there was a few episodes in the past where we were talking about the Falcons' backup running backs. Mm-hmm. We were considering it maybe being Allison. We were making fun about people that were thinking it was going to be Javion Hawkins, and he ended up being cut and everything like that. Yeah, I was making fun of people. And we were thinking about maybe they might add a player or anything like that. One of the things I remember saying is the Falcons didn't have much money, so they weren't probably going to be able to add a big name. Mm-hmm. But we just had to pay attention to see what they were doing. And the whole time, they always had Patterson on that roster. And if you heard people that were around the team talk about it, they were always talking about the fact that they wanted to use Patterson as a running back. Mm-hmm. But we just ignored it. I even joked about it on the pod one day. I was like, get Patterson out of there. Like, he's not a running back. Yeah. But leading up to week 1, he was just still there, you know? And it just got to a point. No, I know what happened. They cut Allison and added Gallman. Yeah. So that made me think, dang, like, all the backup running backs all through the training camp are all gone. And then I was like, oh, yeah, except for the pseudo running back in Patterson. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Yeah. Let's just get this guy. I was getting him for like $1. Let's just see what happens. Week 1, he actually led the team in rushing, yardage-wise. I was like, oh, okay. And then week 2, he did what he did, 2 touchdowns. I was like, okay, this is a thing. So now I kind of think he looks better than Mike Davis. To some degree, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually takes over that backfield. Now it's still I mean, Mike Davis not getting any passing work. Yeah. So
no, he's getting some passing work.
Minute, a little bit. Patterson is really getting the most of the passing work. Patterson had 8 catches this last game. I think he led the team in reception.
Which is silly.
Now again, that whole offense is depressed. I'm not excited about any of it. I'm very disappointed in Pitts because initially I wasn't high on Pitts because he was a rookie tight end, but I started to kind of come around a little bit just because he was the only one that had and he drafted him so high. But now I'm sour again, man.
I mean, I was okay like being wrong. Like I said before, I'm okay being wrong on Pitts given where he was going, like in the FFPC format.
Do you have any Pitts?
I have like 1 or 2 teams with Pitts. Okay. I got
one
like
share
3
or 4. I got 3. No, I got like maybe 3. But who else is there? Like, Ridley's not even doing much. You even put in a text message one day, is really playing in the game, and he was there. So it's like, what's going on?
And that's the thing, the process really wasn't wrong on Pitts. Like, I don't think anybody who took him where he was going, like in the 3rd round, like, I don't think that was like a wrong pick, you know, and it may prove to pay out like moving forward. Like I said, like things change. It's just like so far it's been a rough start, and likely given where you drafted him, you had to like kind of deal with those.
Who was the 3 teams they played the first 3 weeks?
The Giants.
I know they played the Bucks. Bucks was week 2.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was concerned about Mike Davis against that run defense. Who they play week 1? We don't remember. I know this week they have a good matchup though. They play a weak team. The Giants.
Played the
no,
Giants
not the
this
Giants.
they played the Giants last week because I started.
They play a team this week that is not
Daniel Jones.
I don't know. It might even be the Jets or something like that.
Speaking of depressed offenses, let's talk about the Saints, New Orleans. Man. Listen, for at least the last 10 years, the Saints offense have been something that you can count on. Obviously, Breeze was there. Breeze is no longer there. We got Jameis at quarterback. Do you guys still roster Marquez Callaway?
Okay, look, this is my take on a Saints offense. Okay, there's 2 things that you have to take into account with the Saints offense. One, their defense is really, really good, and they know it. Okay, they had some injuries the Carolina game, which is why Darnold looked like Darnold, or what he put on tape. But their defense is really, really good, meaning that they can control game scripts in most situations.
No, that wasn't an injury game. That was the COVID game.
So what?
That was
it was a COVID. But it was COVID, but they also had injuries.
Coaches. Okay.
They also had injuries. They had D-line injuries. I think Lattimore was out there. They definitely had some injuries in the defense in addition to COVID. Yeah. Both things. So, so their defense is really, really good, and their O-line is elite. Okay, they did lose their center, but I don't know how long he's going to be out. But their O-line is very, very good. So they can run the ball and control the ball. And now that you have, Jameis Winston, and if you've just watched the Saints games, there's always like a couple of games. You're like, man, bruh, really? Come on now. So Sean Payton sees this stuff. They see it in practice every day. So they're like, look, just run the ball. When we have to pass, we'll pass. But for the most part, if we got to punt. We will get the ball back. We will figure out ways to win with our defense. And so what that's leading to, it's not like these other guys are just sucking. It's just that the volume is so depressed. They are running the ball. We talked about it beforehand in terms of like why I was like high on Kamara, because I was like, he's just gonna get his best player the ball. Like that's what's gonna happen. Like that's why I was like, stop letting Alvin Kamara go to like the 7th, 8th pick. He's going to get his best player the ball. Yeah. And we're seeing for the first time ever Alvin Kamara get like 20 carries in a game. I don't know how long that's gonna last.
How did he look this past week?
He looks good. But he's running like, it's not like, I don't think this is how you should be using Alvin Kamara in a 17-game series, to be quite honest. And they're getting Jones in there, Tony Jones in there, a few.
I think they got like 3-4 carries.
Yeah, but something's going to have to, like, give at some point. I don't know. Maybe they think that, like, Michael Thomas is coming back a little bit sooner. But this is why I just, like, I'm trying not to drop Callaway because they're not going to be able to control every game. But it's tough to figure out which of these games are, because if it's, like, close, they're just going to run. They're just going to run. Yeah.
I'm waiting for Traquan to come back because I think that may open up some things.
But this is the thing.
He's not practicing yet.
But this is the thing. Even if Traquan comes back, it's not like, Traquan is back. Let's open up the offense. Yeah. No, they want to run the ball. And this is why I have a hard time. Like, I'm having to just drop. Like, Troutman I'm done with.
That's what I was going to say. The biggest disappointment was those tight ends. Like, let's not forget about those
and
guys.
Jawan, oh, my God. I was, like, so happy about getting Jawan everywhere. And I played him a lot in the first week, and then I played him in the second week. And then after the second week, I was like, oh, man, I can't do this. But now I'm like, I'm having to drop him in certain areas.
I can't trust either of those guys.
You can't trust them. You cannot start any of them.
Yeah.
So. I'd rather start Dan Arnold right at this point, especially because they're playing. Sorry, we didn't do a lot of prep for this. I mean, we prepped the previous 3 games. We didn't prep what's ahead.
I don't know who the Jags are playing this week.
The Saints have a pretty good. They're playing the Giants this week.
Okay.
They're playing the Giants, which is not good for Saquon, but they're playing the Giants this week. So, again, it's going to be the same scenario where they're going to want to run the ball. So I can't play Jawan. The only time I want to play them is when I'm like, okay, they're going to have to throw the ball. Yeah. That's the only time that I want to play them.
Wait, I think the Jags are playing the Falcons.
No. Jags are playing Cincy on Thursday.
Cincy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I'm loaded up on Cincy defense.
I did too.
This week. Let's move to the NFC North.
They're playing the Washington football team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. All right. Washington football team.
Yeah. Right. If we said Redskins, I'm sorry. If we said the former name of the Washington football team earlier, we apologize.
Yeah, I don't think we did because I've kind of beaten that since episode 3.
Gotcha.
Kind of beaten that into my head. So let's talk about the NFC North. Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers seems to be back on track. Him and Devontae Adams seem to be back on track. Do we expect Green Bay to be there in the end to push Tampa and hopefully put up some resistance in the playoffs?
They're going to need to get healthy on defense, and that defense is really going to need to kind of come around. Like, they're going to need to improve, and that's tough.
I don't think they got enough, man.
Yeah, it's tough. Enough. But, I mean, otherwise, I mean, I like the problem with this Green Bay team is that the defense isn't as good and their O-line isn't as good. They've lost a lot of pieces on that O-line, and it's really Rodgers just kind of, really kind of, upping his level of play. MVS has also looked a little bit better, but they're going to need more guys to come through. Aaron Jones has been running very well. I mean, he's been running very, very well. A.J. Dillon has not looked all that good.
They're just not giving him a lot of work, though.
Yeah, I think he's like a volume back too, so he needs touches. But yeah, as far as like competing with Tampa, I don't see.
I only think there's 2 teams in the NFC that can compete with Tampa: the Rams and the Cowboys.
Not the Cowboys.
I mean, but they just have the type of makeup to compete. Now the Cowboys always choke, so they probably won't do it. But they have the makeup to compete, and you saw what they did week 1.
Yeah,
like they were there with them. Think if they would have made those field goals, it might have been a totally different outcome.
You can never count out Seahawks either. I can never count them out.
Right.
Yeah, I can count them out what they did with the Titans.
What about Tanyan? Are you guys rostering Tanyan?
I don't roster players like that.
What does that mean?
I mean, it's like players were like, they can like 1 week they can give you 2 touchdowns and the other week they can give you like
Nothing.
1 for 10.
Yeah.
I just don't like, not when you have to take them that high. I don't mind like getting guys like late, like boom bust guys like late.
Yeah.
But like,
you'd rather not have
when we talking about an FFPC, if like I got to take them in the 7th round, like nah, I'll just like, because I know like his upside is not like, okay, he can really take over this offense. Like as wrong as I was with Jonnu, his still upside was like, okay, like they need someone to throw the ball to. They paid him a lot of money. He could potentially be seeing, 6 to 7 targets a game and really be, be doing something. That's not Tanyan's upside. Tanyan's upside is just like, okay, if you're gonna play him, you gotta play him every week. You gotta take the good and the bad, or else you just gotta, unless you got a crystal ball.
And remember with tight end premium, the advantage is really a tight end that's gonna get a lot of receptions.
Yeah.
Tanyan's not a tight end that gets a lot of receptions. He's a guy that ends up scoring a fair amount of touchdowns, and it's just kind of sporadic touchdowns. So it's not really the type of tight end you target in these type of formats.
Earlier in the pod, I believe it was around episode 3 or 4, we talked about whether Justin Jefferson was going to finish as receiver 1 with Minneapolis. Adam Thielen looks really, really good.
I don't think we put that on the show. I think that was the poker night.
Oh, what was
that was the poker night? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I told y'all to record it. Y'all didn't see. They didn't want to record that. I tried to get that out there. Man, there was so many jams. So many jams.
No, because I was saying there's a chance Thielen could do it.
Right.
Right. I still don't know how it's gonna play out. Jefferson looks great.
How do you feel now, though?
But
how do you feel now? But
I think it's still up in the air.
No, I want Jefferson.
I think it's still up. I think Thielen did Thielen have
like
2
Thielen
touchdowns
too.
the first week?
They were both like,
I don't know.
They were both like great prices or like great targets where they were going.
Right.
Really, we have to give props to Cousins.
Yes.
That's really what we need to be doing, because Cousins is playing a lot better than what anybody expected. And I think in a fair amount of my leagues, I still see Cousins on the waiver wire. He's still not getting
he's
respect.
definitely still on the waiver wire.
I'm at the point in the season right now where like I don't care. I don't care what what I thought preseason. I don't care what Justin Fields could be. I know what my eyes are telling me. My eyes are telling me that Cousins is balling.
Are you dropping Fields?
I drop Fields for Cousins, yes, in a heartbeat. Like this, why?
I hear you.
Like no issues. Now there's some leagues where like I have like a Lamar Jackson, and then like if I got Trey Lance late, then that's maybe it's a little bit different.
Are you dropping Lance?
Depends. I don't have any issues dropping players.
Yeah,
certain players, except Jeff Wilson. I'm not dropping Jeff Wilson. No, most of my Trey Lance shares I'm holding on to.
Yeah.
So you're out of the Justin Fields game?
I'm not out of the game. I'm just saying, like, if there's a better option there, like, I'm not decreasing what Justin Fields could be. And I didn't start, like, I don't think I started Justin Fields anywhere, but because I didn't think it was a great matchup. Maybe one team, I don't know. But so I'm not saying that Justin Fields can't become this like great player. What I'm saying is like you can't ignore what we have seen. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about, and I put it in a group chat, like there's just offensive coordinators that I just love. Mm-hmm. And Clint Kubiak Jr. is one of those offensive coordinators, okay? We could say that, Jeff Jefferson and Thielen are great route runners, and they are, and they find ways to get open, and they do. Yeah. But their scheme allows them to get even more open and makes it easier for Kirk Cousins. Yeah. And then there's the screenplays that they call, and they just have great skilled weapons. And we can't leave the Vikings without talking about Dale's boy.
Oh yeah.
We almost forgot about that.
I almost forgot. Yeah.
You better take that one. You better run. Let me pass the baton.
Tyler Conklin.
Go ahead and take that lap.
I mean, he's doing. The first 2 weeks was a little slow, but he was getting work. He was out there. He was running the routes. He wasn't getting the targets. They were looking good. I mean, they didn't really need to use him. Yeah. I think this game they probably felt like they could use him a lot more as far as opportunities. And he's done what he needed to do.
He was schemed. They were schemed.
Yeah, he was schemed. He's got the catches. He got the touchdown. He's probably one. We haven't looked at waivers. I think waivers ran tonight. We haven't really looked at the outcome, but I'm sure Conklin was one of the higher pickups this week. And I'm thinking maybe a lot of people are a little still skeptical about him because they probably didn't really know who he was coming to the season. But the guy has talent, man. The guy has talent. The guy can be a value by the end of the season. Somebody you look back later and be like, wow, this is a tight end that I was able to pick up late that ends up helping me win my leagues. Don't ignore him. But yeah, Conklin is good, very good.
All right, so let's talk about the Detroit Lions. I mean, Swift, Jamal Williams in that backfield. I hate that Jamal Williams is there because I have a lot of Swift. How do you guys feel about that backfield being shared the way that it is?
Man, I don't hate it at all.
I like it.
I love it.
Yeah,
this keeps Swift. It keeps him nice and fresh. Okay, we were on point. Okay, together collectively.
Yeah.
Because I was not as high on T.J. Hockenson as you were, but collectively we kind of came to a realization of what this offense was going to look like. Yeah. They were going to run the ball. T.J. Hockenson was going to be like one of the primary receiving options, and then you're going to have some receivers kind of mixed in here or there.
It's actually playing out exactly the way we thought it was going to play out.
But the importance of that is just early on, everyone was just, kind of, okay, Anthony Lynn's terrible. The Lions are going to be, just a really, really bad team. Like, they're talking about splitting carries, and then people just want to just ignore an entire team. And when you do that, you lose potential value. There was no other player that I love more than Swift outside of maybe Marquise Brown and Cooks. And I'm getting lucky on those guys. And there's some other guys that I missed on, obviously. But Swift, I love Swift because I love the idea of a non-mobile quarterback, in negative game script situations, an athletic back where he's just going to be getting a lot of dump off and passes where there's not a lot of other receiving threats. So it's playing out like that. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But I love what I've seen thus far. And we were high on Jamal Williams too as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so to me, it's the best of both worlds because you get to play both of them.
It's the ideal situation.
Yeah.
It's the ideal situation.
I don't want to move on without talking about Allen Robinson. Are you guys benching Allen Robinson or are you still playing him every week?
Are we on Chicago Bears now?
I'm playing him.
Well, we already kind of talked about the Bears
We haven't talked about the Bears.
We haven't talked about the Bears yet.
Well, we talked
about Fields. No, but I'm keeping Robinson in the game.
I'm playing him this week.
Yeah, I'm playing.
But I mean, he's on notice.
Yeah, he's on notice.
He's on notice. He's on notice. And in the wrong matchup, I'm not playing him. But I think what we saw last week was the bottom. Okay, they can't get any worse than what we saw last week. Well, I anticipate things to be better this week, and it's an easier matchup. They're playing the Lions.
Let me back up. Are you quarterback dependent on it? If it's Fields, the quarterback, do you think of it any differently, or it doesn't matter who the quarterback is?
I told you, I was it's Matt Nagy. The reason that I'm I don't feel over, just this need to hold on to Fields is because of Matt Nagy. I was hoping that maybe he would scheme the offense around Fields' talent, but that's not what they did. Yeah. Okay? They literally kept him in the pocket. They didn't have him do any any bootlegs, rollouts, RPOs, design runs, nothing. It was one of the worst game plans I've ever seen in my life against a bad O-line. Yeah. Against a team with really, really elite pass rushers.
So, for me, if Fields is the quarterback, I'm probably not going to play Allen Robinson.
Against the Lions?
Yeah, I don't care.
I can't.
I don't know if Fields is ready. I don't know if Fields is ready.
It's going to be – you're going to see a lot of David Montgomery this game.
If it's Dalton, I feel like Dalton is one of those quarterbacks that will like focus on one guy and just keep feeding him, regardless how trash Dalton is. But Fields, I don't know if he's ready for the lights yet. So
and Fields had his issues, but he's a rookie though. Like you're a head coach, you got to know these things. If you felt like he wasn't that good or wasn't that ready, then put in Nick Foles. Nick Foles has in-game experience.
Nick Foles is a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, he has plenty of experience. I don't want to hear this stuff. I don't. That is all on Matt Nagy. Okay, that's all on Matt Nagy. That was a terrible game plan.
All right, guys. I want to move on to the AFC North. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, that defense to me is surprising. That's the story of the Bengals for me personally. But I know everybody wants to talk about Jamar Chase and those receivers. Who do you think is going to be receiver one out of that receiving core?
Man, we've had this. Oh, okay.
But now that we've gotten
number one, this offense is very different than what it's been. Mm-hmm. Okay, in terms of just like the pace, in terms of them being super pass heavy, they're not the same Bengals that they were last year. So I think that's important because yes, Jamar Chase is scoring touchdowns, but this team is not seeing a huge amount of volume now because Higgins is going to be out for another game. It's going to be again a more narrow target tree, and we talked about that. That's what we like. Mm-hmm. Okay, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and then maybe a little bit of randomness mixed in here or there. And obviously,
I don't even think there's any randomness. It's literally
just those two,
Boyd and Chase right now.
So that is what makes it ideal. So obviously, I think you're starting those two. Those guys are locked in any format, and then it's going to be a lot of Joe Mixon. But when Higgins comes back, I think that's when it becomes a little bit tougher. If I had to pick one, I'm definitely taking Chase, and I don't think that was really much of it. I mean, I guess it was maybe between Chase and Higgins before. For me, it was Chase just because like they drafted him so high. But as far as like who was a better discount, we'll see.
I mean, obviously, if that question has to be Boyd. Yeah, Boyd was the latest one taken. And Boyd is still producing.
That doesn't mean it was right not to take the other guys.
Right, no. Yeah. I like all of them. I have no problem playing with all of them going forward until further notice because they each game have the opportunity to score. Yeah. And their offense is clicking. And Chris, you actually spoke on it to start this team segment. That defense is impressing. And Abby brought it up in our group chat one day talking about how great the Bengals defense is playing. And I want to just go on a quick tangent as far as what I used to – I don't even know if I said it on the show, but I know I used to talk to people just in fantasy in general about how leading into seasons, we think we know who the great defenses are going to be. Mm-hmm. Like we think we know who the top echelon defenses in the league are going to be. But then when the season plays out, you come to find out pretty early that defenses that you thought were going to be great, a la Washington, a la the Rams, aren't producing. But then these other teams that are like you would have had no idea were going to be a thing, a la the Bengals, a la the Panthers, ends up shining. Yeah. And I think the Bengals are showing, and I don't even know what players they have on their defense.
I feel like they've been improving for like a few years now, and then like it's just maybe just finally clicked.
Who are some individual players they have that are really, or is it just a team effort type thing for them?
It's more a team effort.
Okay, but they're really showing out right now. They're playing the Jaguars tomorrow. I hope, especially if you're FFPC, you pick them up to play tomorrow. I say that, and I think they're actually missing a guy or two tomorrow, so I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of
Travion Williams. They've been missing him for a while.
Travion Williams, the running back.
That's Travion Williams. Who am I thinking of?
I think I saw they were going to be missing one player that is good for their defense. But we'll see. But it's the Jags. Yeah. It's the Jags, so whatever. But that defense really is showing out, so that's a good thing. I don't know if they're for real yet. We still need a few more data points, but I'm a true believer in I stream defenses. I stream defenses, so I try to quickly find who that top defense is, gravitate to them, and then try to hold on to them as long as possible.
Just help me out for a second. Am I stupid for holding on to Samaje Perine?
I don't think so. It's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know. Chris Evans could potentially.
Let him go.
Let him go. Oh, wait. Are you saying you have Joe Mixon?
I don't have Joe Mixon.
So you just have him just to have him?
Just to have him, just in case of Mixon. Yeah.
Let him go.
We all have some handcuffs.
Yeah, but The thing with Pirine
he's been getting. I mean, he's been getting some more. He's been the guy that comes in,
but he doesn't have the talent to where when he finally gets it.
We say that, and then like last year when he got work. He got work, especially
he got work. Let me ask you this: if Pirine did end up becoming the guy due to injury with Mixon, do we expect him to get all the pass work, or do y'all see them using Chris Evans?
I would see them using Chris Evans a little bit.
I do too. And if Chris Evans is getting that passing work, because one of the big things with Mixon and why his value is so high is he's getting all the work. Yeah. He's getting running and passing. So if Pirine is only getting the running work, you know, how excited are you going to be with that? I mean, yeah, he has the opportunity to score touchdowns like Peyton Barber did this last game. But I want a running back that's going to get that passing work, you know. And right now you're holding Pirine in hopes of an injury happening. You can't play Pirine unless if Mixon is healthy.
Right.
I mean, it depends on what you got.
I wouldn't start him if Mixon is healthy.
No, you're not. Of course, you're not going to start him. It's just like if you think he's the handcuff, and there's really nothing else out there on the waiver, then you.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're only, you know, your options are your options. Mm-hmm. So if there's nothing else out there, but the way I look at waiver wire right now, there's a lot of players out there. I mean, you could tell a story about everybody.
Trey Waynes was a cornerback.
Trey Waynes, okay, he's out.
He hasn't played in a while though.
Okay, I think he's coming back. This is his first game back. But there was another DB I think they lost.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have my.
But let's move on to Pittsburgh for a second. Can Najee hold up with this kind of workload?
He better.
Can a rookie running back? I mean, he is playing every snap. I mean, how many receptions did he? I mean,
14 catches.
Can he hold up?
Yeah.
He better.
Yeah.
He ain't got no choice.
Yeah.
He ain't have no choice. Well, now, Anthony McFarland, my hope is he's coming back. I've been big on Anthony McFarland. I've actually been, because I dropped him a lot in my leagues in FFPC, knowing he was on IR, knowing that most likely people won't pick him up. Also knowing that when he's about to come back, hurry up and pick him back up. So I have been picking him back up. I do think if he becomes healthy, he's going to get a fair amount of that passing work, because they've been giving Najee almost 100% of the work. Mm-hmm. That's
they don't like anybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody else sucks.
Yeah. Benny Snell is nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's the guy they have that used to play for the Dolphins and then went to the Chargers last year? Balaj. Mm-hmm. Kalen Balaj. He's nothing for them. Yeah. So it's like they're giving it only to Najee. So my hope is once McFarland gets there, they'll, you know, give him a little bit more work to kind of rest up Najee. But as far as can Najee do it, I mean, again, they have no choice. He's their only weapon. He's the only one Ben can get the ball to, because Ben looks broken.
Yeah, he did it. He did it at Alabama. Yeah, Ben. But the thing is, as long as Ben keeps producing for, I mean, nobody drafted Ben, but as long as Ben keeps producing for Deontay, okay, Deontay, come on, stay healthy, bro. He keeps producing for Claypool,
but he ain't producing for Claypool though. That's the problem.
He could produce last game.
The last game he did
9 for 98. But I mean, that's because Deontay was out.
Yeah. I know Juju did okay. Juju's hurt right now, though.
Yeah, they trying to move Juju around a little bit, you know, reverses, things like that, kind of help him out. But let's move on. Cleveland Browns. Listen, they can't keep a receiver healthy. Odell comes back. Obviously, Jarvis Landry is out. How much time do you want to give Odell before you begin to start him?
I started him last week.
You started him last week as soon as he came back?
Odell had a good game.
He did have a good game, but you trusted.
No, Odell's locked in.
Yeah.
Start. I'm not even worried about Odell right now, honestly.
It's a situation by situation type deal, and I understand there was some concerns that he just felt like he didn't feel ready. But once I heard full practice, and I told you I texted everybody. I was like, has anybody heard anything about reduced snap counts?
Yeah.
Nobody heard anything. You know, they obviously needed him out there. Okay. And, you know, he looked good by all accounts, so I'm happy to start him.
He's in a similar situation to me as Saquon.
Yeah.
Honestly. Now, if with us talking about the Browns, I don't want us to ignore Demetric Felton. Mm-hmm. I think he's looked very good for a rookie. Yeah. This last game, so against the Texans, he got, was it 2 touchdowns or maybe 1? I know he won for sure, but I think it might have been 2. Unlimited touches, but he made the most of those touches. He looks electric. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not joystick like Kadarius Toney, but electric. And then this last game, I was actually paying attention specifically to how they used him. They actually had him out there as a slot you know, what with Chubb in the backfield. So they found ways to get him out on the field, even if it wasn't as a running back. They missed him a couple times. Baker just a little bit too far for him, but they were giving him work early.
Route,
you know, so still early in the season. I even think I saw a quote where they were talking about they're going to try to find a way to get him even more involved because they've been impressed by what he's been able to do. Don't ignore that guy. He's a cheap guy. His role can grow as the season goes on.
And relax on Chubb, okay? We drafted Chubb knowing what we were getting with Chubb.
Chubb has been producing, hasn't he?
He's been producing, yeah. But he like ran for 22 and 80, like 80.
Oh, 80. People want like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, they want a touchdown every week. Like your receivers don't get you that. Receivers that you draft in the first round don't get you that. Like you drafted him in the second round. That's what we talked about. Mid, late second round, great value to get a guy who's just going to be producing points, but still can get you those explosive weeks as well. So you just got, be patient. You'll take a little down.
Even Hunt, I think, has been pretty okay. Yeah. The Browns have been okay. I'm still not. Baker still doesn't impress me, man.
No,
he hasn't really had his full complement of weapons. I'm like, low key, I'll in a couple of weeks, depending on like how, especially how he looks this week against Minnesota, I may low key pick him up. I'm still not quite sure what that offense is. I know this was like a lot of talk in the off season about them, being a little bit more pass heavy, and they just haven't had they haven't had all of their weapons out there to really be able to do that. Yeah. So I'm keeping an eye out for that. Baker may be a player you may be wanting to look at, in the coming weeks, especially once Jarvis is back.
What do you think about Peoples-Jones?
Man, that dude is such a disappointment. I'm done with him.
You're done with him?
I'm done.
Who's the third? Well, I guess you could say now the second. Higgins.
But I mean, I wouldn't.
So
I wouldn't
not,
go
not
there.
Schwartz.
No, because they have so many different. Like they have this Felton, they have Schwartz, they have all the 3 different tight ends.
Yeah.
Hooper and Njoku.
And
Harris. They have all these guys. So it's really like, again, this is. Their offensive coordinator is, he's very, very good at just like figuring out, okay, what's appropriate, and you never know who they're going to scheme open because they have so many guys.
Real quick, just to interject, going back to the Steelers, Freiermuth, that tight end, he's looked good.
Yeah.
And he's a rookie. He's going to get better. He's going to get better. So, going back to the Browns, though, what are we thinking about that defense? Now, I know they looked great last game, but the Bears.
I dropped them. I got my 9 points and I dropped them. That's it.
Okay.
Just move on. Sometimes
people are drafting them high because they thought they were going to really be a solid defense this season. I didn't have many shares of them, and I dropped the few I did have, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the last team, Baltimore Ravens, the most turbulent team, I think, of the NFL so far this year with all the heroics. I'm going to let you go ahead and take your victory lap on Marquise Brown. You were super high on Marquise.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to take a victory lap on this one because, number one, he disappointed me last week.
But still, I mean,
I know, like
a lot of drops.
The targets were there, the drops were there, and I'm not gonna get upset with the drops. I'm just saying, you just cost me a couple, but whatever. But yes, I think I was super high on Marquise Brown. I just love where he was going in drafts. And again, it was more so I was seeing. I keep going back to it. Last half of last year where they were using him very differently. So it wasn't just 9 routes. They were using them in those intermediate routes. He was running digs. He was running slants. They were finding ways to get him the ball and then allow him to sort of kind of get some yak. And so that's what I was looking for. Now, I'm not necessarily, taking a victory lap. It worked out. There were a lot of things that have allowed him to be what he's done or what he's been over the last 3 weeks. And it should have been he should have had a monster game last week. One of those is all the running back injuries that they've had. Okay, so you can't ignore that. And this is where it's important to realize, okay, I was high on a player and he's done well, but you got to go back and look why at the why. So they did lose running backs. Bateman, and I wasn't super high on Bateman. I'm not super high on Bateman, but I'm a Bateman guy. I can still appreciate how he could potentially be a major factor, and he may come in. So again, we're looking at these the season in quarters. So even though Marquise did well this first quarter, we'll have to see what happens the second quarter. And then lastly, what's the last thing? I'm blanking on it, but I do like what I've seen in general from the offense, from a standpoint of them being a little bit more pass heavy. Their offensive line, even them just bringing in Villanueva, it's just, to me, their offensive line is still gelling. And I think they're going to get there, okay? Because it's a complicated system to run, especially with all the, the types of run schemes that they that they run in that offense. So I think that's going to take a little bit of time. But I like what I'm seeing in the pass game, and the defense isn't as good as they were last year, or like
they missed a lot of players last game.
Yeah, so.
One thing though with the Ravens, we also want to take into consideration is all their games have been competitive, even the Lions game.
Yeah,
the Chiefs, the Raiders, they've been literally fighting the whole game, all 4 quarters. So it's allowed Lamar to literally pass the ball all 4 quarters. I think if Hollywood would have caught those touchdowns this last game that he should have been catching, the game would have probably been out of reach a fair amount more.
Coming out the barbershop too lit. Pocket full of nickels blowing super draw. Smoother than the Cadillac with cruise control.